The aim of Black Mental Matters is to tell experiences with honesty. Therefore, some discussions may trigger an adverse reaction. If a discussion is beginning to upset you, we advise that you please stop listening and talk to your support team.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. It is another edition of Black Mental Matters. Vince, the voice, Coach Makeba. How you doing, Coach?
Oh man, I'm actually doing pretty good this morning, Vince. I got in a great boxing session. I did some meditation and I ate like some really healthy food. So, and those are three things that I usually don't do in one day. So I'm counting my wins and I'm feeling real good. And I'm also really just cognizant of just trying to just think more positive thoughts here lately. So I'm actually doing pretty good.
That's awesome. Yeah, those
How about you?
things like, hey, I found a really good watermelon, and so I had fruit with my breakfast, and we walked and we rode the bikes and all that good stuff. So I feel you, Makeba. That's what's up, ladies and gentlemen, boys. You want to smile like us?
Yes.
Get out there, eat good, do a little exercise. And I'm all the time I'm talking to myself because these are things like you say, I did not do as much as I should have, but we're changing the game because we want to be here and we want to enjoy this beautiful gift we've been given called life. And that's what we're doing right now as we bring to you again, Black Mental Matters, where we're trying to eradicate the stigma and talk about the things that were going on with us, talk about mental well-being, which for definition purposes, the unique way that you handle your emotions, respond to stress, and determined by the general outlook of life. We do research and it supports the idea that having a healthy sense of mental well-being has many benefits: enjoyment in life, as you were just saying, resilience in difficult situations, set and fulfill goals, build and maintain relationships. I mean, having a good mental well-being is very important, no doubt.
Absolutely. And I'm glad that you touched on all those different pillars because when people think about that, they don't think about all those things that can lead to or are part of your good mental health or your emotional well-being. They just think, well, if I'm not depressed or if I'm not, in need of therapy, in the way that I think that I do, then I'm doing okay. So I'm glad that we're talking about all of these things because this actually is why if you don't check in with these things, it leads to burnout.
It leads to burnout, and which comes from that beginning of that's word stress. But when we talk about burnout, a complete mental, physical, and emotional exhaustion. That's what you're feeling. If you're experiencing burnout, you may notice it's difficult to engage in activities you normally find meaningful. You may no longer care about the things that are important to you or experiencing an increasing sense of hopelessness. Burnout is not fun, I tell you. And just all transparency, we started this podcast in 2019. We were burning on all cylinders. We made it through COVID. We were going, we were blowing, and I'm burnt out, Makeba. Because I think it really, and we talked about this in an episode, when you're really trying to do something that you think is going to help and change the world, those are the folks that really, I think, need this kind of mental health support than anybody, because it's easy to get burned out when you're trying to do good.
Oh, I'm so glad that you mentioned that because so many of us that are in this mental health space that talk about anxiety and depression and understanding the importance of burnout also understand just exactly what you're saying. We need just to be more aware of what that actually is, what it leads up to, how to have conversations about it, and also how to start knowing that it's okay to say no. And if you have been in a space where you have been saying yes, and you now say, all right, I know that it's healthy to say no. Just understand that the people that have been benefiting from your eternal yes are going to have a learning curve, and you are going to need to stand firm in that in order to establish boundaries and to continue moving forward with knowing that you can't be everything for everybody all the time.
That's right. That's right. And we talked about this topic together, and for those again that are on the front lines, and I know you always, as well as I do, but we're thinking about our therapists out there, our black therapists. So you think about us, black folks, and what we go through, which is unique to our culture and things, and then the people who did have to help us through those unique situations. So shout out to the black therapists at this time. Thank you for taking the time, and we need more of you. But those of you that are on the front lines right now, we want to thank you for the work that you do. Mhm.
Ah, yes. And Vince, I'm hearing that bell that you said that you're going to start putting in this
Ding, ding,
episode
ding.
whenever we mention Black therapists, because I think that they deserve a bell, because they, to me, are angels out there that are masquerading as therapists. And when you think about the fact that just the heaviness of what they have to carry, a lot of them aren't in their own practice. So they're in, practices with other therapists that might not appreciate who they are and what they bring to the table as an African American. So you don't know what your own therapist is dealing with just as a Black person, and then their own mental health issues, because most people that, just like what you said, that get into the mental health field, they're doing it because they had a passion for it.
Right.
So they're like, oh, yes, I'm going to help all these people. And they are often, very susceptible to burnout.
Susceptible. That's right. And so you may ask yourself, you're sitting there listening, watching us, what have you. How do I know if I'm experiencing burnout? I know something going on. Well, there are some physical symptoms. They include getting headaches, stomach aches. All of a sudden your stomach, you got the bubble guts all the time,
Okay, be more
tired,
specific. Wait a minute. Wait a
getting
minute.
sick all the time, changes in your appetite and sleep. Emotionally, you may just feel helplessness. I know if you watch this news these days, boy, you like, oh Lord, what can I do? What's up? Cynicism, just everything is like whatever. Sense of failure or self-doubt, decreased satisfaction, things again that you used to love. I mean, the butter pecan just ain't tasting as good as it used to. It's like, I don't really want no more ice cream. Feeling detached or alone in the world. And that is, I think, such an overlooked, we say it, we say, oh, there's an epidemic of loneliness, but that is powerful when people feel like, they're in things alone. That's why we're here. Loss of motivation. And then you can notice behaviorally, people with reduced performance in everyday tasks, they're being withdrawn or isolated, procrastinating, outbursts, using substances to cope. I mean, burnout affects us in a lot of ways.
Absolutely. And also in our communities, a lot of our burnout is also, impacted by generational trauma, from
Uh,
slavery, from segregation, ongoing racism, daily microaggressions, and macro level injustices. I know that there's a lot of rolling back of DEI and, and inclusion program. So there are now a lot of, Black professionals that are in spaces that are really dealing with that on a professional level and just from a mental health perspective. And then we've got barriers to care, including stigma and lack of access to culturally competent therapists right now. So absolutely. So the burnout in the African American community is multi-layered.
and as you said, when you're in the workplace, I mean,
Mhm.
um, I think that a lot of the stress and burnout when you're working someplace and you got no control over the work that you're being given or having to do. Now we're going to want you to do this. Now they don't recognize that you're doing a good job. They're demanding, overly demanding your expectations, monotonous or unchallenging work, chaotic or high pressure environment. All these things, they just start building up. And so burnout is real. I mean, don't let folks fool you that, and that's that stigma in our community. Oh, you just need to shake it off. That's just the way it is. That's this, that, the other. No, you need to recognize what this is. So then you can take that step back for a second and say, okay, I need to reset and take care of yourself so we can get to that mental well-being that we're all striving for.
Right, right. And you don't know what could be adding to that for people. Like this morning I heard on the news that in some county near us that the property taxes have gone up 90%, and a lot of homeowners are now, concerned about losing their home. So just think about that Black therapist
Mm.
that's also, taking on, and shout out to them, because when you just think about being in therapy, you never think about, man, my therapist's mortgage is due today, or man, like my, therapist, has depression too.
Mm.
My therapist has anxiety. I guarantee you, if you only knew what and who your therapist is, you'd love them even more. And just to understand that the weight on them professionally and personally is so much greater just because of our African American experience, and that they're holding space for you every day that they're having those sessions. I mean, and then in this world where we are experiencing burnout and people need to just talk and just have a safe space to just rest, like we really need more of these conversations.
We definitely do. And, that sometimes, burnout, it can look like depression. It can, you
Mhm.
think, but it's critical to be sure to get a professional diagnosis. But a key difference that you can uh, find is that you can ease burnout with rest or time off. You can, if you're burned out, you just, people will talk about them. I need to take a vacation. I need some me time. That is kind of how you deal with burnout. Depression, which is a medical illness, needs to be treated with therapy or medication. Burnout usually related to one aspect of your life, your job, caregiving, or some other type of prolonged or stressful activity, while depression, just want to be clear, on the other hand, affects every aspect of your life. Not treating burnout could raise, though, your risk for depression. So we definitely need to make sure that we don't overload ourselves, get overload burnout, under challenge burnout, the things we were talking about earlier, neglect burnout, habitual burnout, which is the most serious phase. This is when your physical and mental fatigue is just chronic, just all the time. You feel sad, your behavior changes, cross over in depression, and even suicide sometimes. So this burnout topic, this burnout scenario is very, very important for us to have an understanding about.
Yeah, and to also understand that a key element to it is sometimes we don't give ourselves just permission
Yeah,
to rest. And
to
you and I have
rest.
even had this conversation where, we've kind of talked to each other about, hey, don't be working all weekend, don't be working on Sunday night, don't be working Saturday, morning at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. But when you're passionate about something that you're doing, especially if it's impacting others, it's hard to rest, but we have to understand that rest, especially now, is not laziness, and it's actually resistance. And you need to practice things like not just rest, but meditation. Try to take more naps if you can, and just by completely just unplugging. That is so revolutionary when you think about how much time we're now spending on our phones and how unproductive
Yeah.
a lot of that time is when you're just sitting with your neck, craned over, and you're just in your phone. And just, I think you and I have even mentioned how when you are like watching or looking at something on your phone and then you look up, or if somebody's standing in front of you, it's like coming up for air almost. It's like, oh, and then you're completely aware of all of your surroundings again. So it's a very unhealthy place to be, where you are just in a space where you're not giving yourself permission to unplug because you feel like you're missing out on something. No, you're not. What you're missing out on is opportunities to replenish yourself.
And see, that's why I love working with you so much, Makeba, because you practice what you preach. Just recently, you say, Vince, I don't want you to be calling me this weekend. I don't want you to be working on this program. I want you to just sit and have a sip and just relax. And I followed your advice. And girl, I came out on Monday morning. I was like, okay, all that I was tripping on, is gone. and I'm ready to start all fresh and new. And in that vein, folks, you can try whatever relaxing activity it is. Yoga, I know you do a little meditation, Tai Chi, you got the bowls, all that kind of stuff. And see you laughing and people laugh, but I've experienced this
I
like,
love it now. I'm
hey,
laughing because I'm
I'm
laughing.
chilling. Yeah. Woo, woo, woo,
Same.
woo, boom. Every now and then they throw in a boom. And it does. It's amazing at how, it just.
Yeah, because you know what you're touching on is sound therapy.
Mhm.
And that's so great for people with burnout because we don't pay attention to the imbalance of how often we're using our visual senses compared to what we're just using just audio. Like we used to sit, I was listening to, don't judge me, I love the 80s. I'm an 80s baby. I love the 80s, but I was listening to something, there was a Sting song that came on, and I was like, man, I remember when a song only came on the radio and you only heard a song from the radio. Now, man, you listen to 15 songs in 2 minutes. And I mean, and so everything is just back to back to back where it's not you're unplugging and just letting the sound environment relax you and ground you and replenish you. Because number one thing about burnout is when you do go back to pouring out into other people, it should never be from a place of anything other than overflow.
Anything other than overflow.
Yes, yes. So you should not feel like you are pouring out. The overflow. So you need to fill yourself up. And this is a note to myself too, because I am working on this. Your self-care should be radical. The same way that you would take care of somebody else, your self-care should be radical. You should write it down. You should have a plan. You need self-care, what I call self-care protocols, because sometimes when I'm battling like depression and anxiety, it feels like the mental health rent is due every day. And I can't sleep. I mean, like not literally sleep, but I can't not be diligent with my mental health. So I need to pay attention to factors like not getting enough sleep at night. Once you do that over an extended period of time, you are on a straight path to burnout.
Well, there are definitely some ways, and we've talked about a lot. Everything is not cut and dry. So it may be that you got a little stress at work, or maybe you have great stress at work, and that's the cause, or the family. I mean, so everything. But what we're trying to do is expose and talk about all these many scenarios as possible. And then when you hear something that resonates with you, that's telling you, that's the sign right there. Okay, this is where we need to go. And so I want to share that there are ways that you can help yourself recover from burnout. The first, like what I'm just saying, know what the problem is. Realizing that you're burned out is the first step toward recovery, because like the men that we are, man, I just got to keep plowing through, and you will plow yourself through till you
Right.
that is not the way to deal with it, right, Makeba?
No, it's not. No, and you're absolutely right. And to be able to have those self check-ins, you want to get to the point where you are kind of like guarding your well-being and being like vigilant, kind of like standing on guard, like, like you're like looking for, anxiety and depression and burnout and somebody to ask you to work 5 extra hours on top of the other 2 that they just asked you. Like you need to be aware of, okay, wait, no, that's a boundary. I need to say no. No, that's a boundary. I need to now go home. Even though these things aren't done, and know that it's okay to get behind on stuff.
That's right. Them dishes will be okay. I mean,
They
yeah, you
will.
don't
They have
like
some
seeing them,
gnats, but
huh?
they're gonna be all right. They have some gnats on them.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna be all right.
Little
I hope
spray
to
and
talk
get rid of those if you got to.
about.
So knowing the prioritizing your health, as you were just saying, getting more sleep, eat better, exercise, whatever it is to get yourself back on track. Because I mean, hey, stress is a part of life, and hopefully it doesn't turn into burnout. But if it does, again, hey, prioritize your health during that time. Keep a healthy distance. Remove yourself from the source of stress. Like we say, maybe you can't always leave the job or get rid of a caregiving duty, but you may be able to take a vacation or a day or even just an afternoon. Sometimes just give me 10. Can you give me 50 feet and 10 minutes for a minute?
Ooh. That
Sometimes
needs
that's
to be
all
on
it
a
takes.
shirt. That should be on a shirt.
Consider what went wrong. What led to your burnout? Does your work or life reflect your values? Ask yourself what brings you joy, and then think about what's most important to you. One thing I can always say I was blessed is that I found what I love to do early. So even when it was, we got to get it done, and the days of staying up all night to get a project, it didn't really stress me out because I was doing something that brought me joy. I cannot stress. We talked about passion. We talked about the careers. I cannot stress that part enough, Makeba.
Yes, absolutely. And to check in with yourself and ask yourself the real question, does your job feel like, or does your occupation feel like it's sucking your soul? Like if you have that kind of language just around something that you are having to do 8 to 10 hours a day, you have to really start thinking about, hey, is this something that's sustainable for me mentally? And and start making some changes, and getting a support system around you that will support you in that.
And there's no set time, that it could take for some, people that can just say, bump that, I'm good. And then there are others that it takes a little while longer. It ain't a firm timeline for recovery from burnout. So don't beat yourself up about it. If you're still tired, if you're still feeling a certain way, then maybe you need more time. But the sooner you reduce your stress by asking for help and practicing self-care, changing or leaving the situation, the better it's going to become, and the quicker that's going to come for you. You've got to take steps. Don't let the world burn you out. You need to, no, that's not how you want it to happen.
No, no, you don't. And I actually, and this is something important, that once you experience burnout, once a person experiences burnout, they're already at a level where they need resuscitation. So it's not like, ooh, I'm just tired a little bit from the job, or I'm just tired a little bit from my day. No, burnout is you are tired from weeks, months, years sometimes. So that's going to require more than a 2 day, retreat or a weekend, and then you're back into the job again. Like you have got to really make sure that you are balancing yourself out and pouring back into yourself at the level of which you're giving.
Mm-hmm. It can be something as simple as just taking a few moments consistently every day. Just that, okay, if your job started 8 and you got to leave the house at 7, maybe that time is 6:45. Every day at 6:45, I'm going to just take a moment. I'm going to center myself. I'm going to, listen to the birds. I'm going to put on some of Makeba's 80s music. You're going to make a plan to address your situation, and that in itself can help you in this scenario. I know that today it is one of these times like no other, and that's been always the case. But by at least addressing, recognizing, and then receiving some type of professional, uh, maybe you don't have to see a therapist, but at least research some reputable, listen to Black Mental Matters, those kinds of things to help you can avoid or eradicate the burnout in your life as well. And that's my 2 cents on it. Yeah.
Oh, yes, 100%. And because burnout is so real and we're talking about it, we have to understand and emphasize the importance of community and making sure that even sometimes when we don't feel like being around other people, sometimes it's good to, let your friends come on over. And if your friend is offering to come and help you clean up, don't be embarrassed or feel like, or make sure that you are not isolating yourself, because that impacts burnout, as well as people feeling like, I'm by myself. I've got all this stuff going on and I don't have anybody else. You're not the only person that's burnt out, and we are all going through this. So we've got to start talking to each other so that we can help each other out.
I really like that. That hit home with me, Makeba, because I mean, honestly, I could be a hermit. I mean, I really love being at home and just chilling at the house and fiddling around the house and working in the yard and things like that. But I do know when my wife makes me get out, when there's some festival going on, or there's all these towns around there have activities in their town square. When we get out there and walk, we don't have to buy a hot dog. I mean, it's just again, you're sharing in the community, and that has been missing in so many lives because of this past pandemic and just how things have gone now. People aren't working in an office anymore, and those kinds of things. That is so true. To get out, you're gonna make me get out. I'm gonna get out here today, Makeba. I'm gonna get outside. I'm gonna find some folks and just be like, "Hey, how y'all doing? Can I buy you some ice cream?" Hey,
Yes.
I don't want to be burned out.
No. And please, I encourage everybody to get outside every day, especially if you work from home. If you work from home and your computer is at a desk, position yourself where you can cast your eyes on the window or even on a plant or a flower, or get something natural by your desk, so that you're not just pouring all of your energy into this electronic thing that's in front of you, that you also have a softness and a balance. And I'm telling you, that makes a huge difference.
That's a sneaky burnout right there, boy. That's sneaky. You don't even realize. That's why I don't mess with it. We don't have TikTok as a sponsor. That's why I don't mess with it. Because once you start looking at the boots on the ground, and then you get to scroll, and it's 3 hours later, and you still sitting there scrolling. And now you know how the boots on the ground. So, hey, don't get burned out, everybody. And we encourage you again, and we thank you for listening to Black Mental Matters, YouTube, Spotify, TuneIn, Apple Podcasts, and we're looking to come out into the community ourselves. We'll be telling you more about that, and we just thank you all so very much. Say goodbye to your fans, Makeba.
I don't know about fans, but we love y'all, and thank y'all so much for listening to us. We really appreciate you.